episode 51 of Partners in Crime, and still no sign of Bob. Word has it, he might have fallen into the Bermuda Triangle.
This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and...
Not the other one. Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Partners in Crime. I'm joined again this week by our special guest host, Rachel Amphlett. Hello, Rachel.
Hello there. I didn't expect to be back this quick. What happened?
I didn't expect you to be back this quick either, to be honest with you. We did say last week Bob was going to be back this week, and he was going to be back this week, and he thought he was going to be back this week. And I texted him this morning, and I said to him, are you coming over today to do Partners in Crime? And turns out, in actual fact, he forgot that he's got to go to Bermuda.
As one does. How can you forget that you're going to Bermuda?
By being Bob, basically. It's a very Bob thing to forget that you've got to go to Bermuda.
For goodness sake. And you got the coffee in especially, didn't you?
Oh, I did, yeah. I'm absolutely swimming in the stuff. But he is back next week, and I have that in writing now. So, yeah.
Signed in blood.
That's there we are, yes. So, here we are. Episode 51, a last-minute adjustment. Thank you very much for making the time to come and co-host again.
That's okay.
Have you been up to much this week? Have you been reading and watching lots and lots of crime?
I have been watching lots of crime. I am now bereft because the last episode of the current Vera series finished on Sunday with the seagull.
Ah, yes. I've got it recorded. I've not watched any of this series
Right,
yet.
My lips are sealed then. My lips are sealed. So fingers crossed they commission another series soon.
Yes, I hope so. Was it good?
Yeah, it's one of the go-to TV series that I really enjoy. That and the DCI Banks series.
Yeah.
But something else that I've been really getting into since we moved back here, and I had been told about it and I was still living in Australia, is Hunted on Channel 4.
Yes.
And we finished binge watching seasons 1, 2 and 3 just as 4 was starting, and I'm hooked.
Do you know what? It's weird, isn't it? Because it's so samey and so repetitive, and people keep making the same mistakes and doing the same thing. And every series is the same as the previous one. But it's
And do
brilliant.
you sit there thinking, I wouldn't do that?
Oh, yeah.
I'd remember that. I mean, as you say, don't they watch the previous seasons before they start? But here's an idea.
They don't want someone who's going to be really good at it, do they? Because then they have to pay them out $100,000.
They don't want to be beaten.
Exactly.
I think they should do one especially for crime writers.
Oh, can you imagine?
I'll be totally up for it.
We should apply.
I reckon.
We should go on that.
I
reckon
can't
we'd
put
be brilliant.
What do you like at camping and stuff? Because I can't put up a tent. I haven't put up a tent since I was in the Girl Guides when I was 15. And that was a disaster.
I've got a theory about going on holidays, and that is there is no point in staying somewhere overnight that is not at least as nice, if not better, than my own house.
Agree.
Because I can stay in my own house and it doesn't cost me anything. So what's the point in going somewhere and paying to basically sleep somewhere that isn't as nice as my own house? That's my take on things. But
So basically they're going to catch us on the first day, aren't they?
Sleeping in a field is not really up there for me, I must admit.
Midges.
I'm an outdoorsy person, so in that regard it kind of appeals, but I do like to come inside at the end of the night and sleep in my own bed, I must admit. But yeah, I think we should have a crack. I mean, $100,000 could sway me.
Yeah, give it to charity.
Exactly. Well, hang on, let's not get too something I've been watching and I've been binging on and was very disappointed to find out is actually still airing, so I can't watch the last couple of episodes, is Cleaning Up on ITV. Have you seen this?
I started watching it. But I wasn't too sure.
Okay.
I watched the first episode and I was like, not too sure. Is it worth sticking with? Should I go back and watch the rest of it?
I think so. I mean, it's got some holes in it, and it's got some issues which make you think actually that just wouldn't be possible, and you wouldn't even get past stage 1. But I think it's brilliant. And for those,
as pure entertainment.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. It's not. It doesn't require much, but I love it. I think it's for those who haven't seen it or haven't heard of it. It's Sheridan Smith. It's on ITV. I did look to see if it's going to be going worldwide. Couldn't find any information on that. But if you're in the UK, you can get that on the ITV player and catch up with that. She plays a cleaner who works in the offices of a Canary Wharf stockbroker, and she's got this gambling problem and various issues that are going on in her life, and she and one of her colleagues decide to try and pull a bit of an ongoing heist by stealing information from the stockbrokers, inside trading information, and trying to get one back on the bankers who she sees as having kind of created a lot of the problems in her life. It's I suppose it's kind of a thriller. Certainly in its story structure, it's definitely a thriller. But it's not kind of high octane and what have you. It's a nice kind of slow burn, but I think it's good. I quite enjoy it.
Oh, that sounds good. I might give that a go again then.
Yeah, I would. No,
well, now that I have no Vera to watch.
Well, yeah, you've got to watch something, haven't you?
And I think that's the thing as well. I'm a bit like you. When I look to things to watch of an evening, because I spend most of the time writing or researching and thing, it is for pure entertainment.
Yeah, I'm the same. One thing I was going to move on to is an article in the Bookseller this week. Val McDermid did an interview, and she's talking about her new book, My Scotland, which is a non-fiction book which examines how she's used distinctive settings, particularly in Scotland, in her books. And the title of the article is Val McDermid, My Relationship with the Landscape Has Always Been Very Strong. And this is something we've talked about a few times with different people in Partners in Crime who set their stories all over the world, and how location and setting can be so evocative and can really kind of be something that you remember from a book. I mean, she mentions in the article here about Raymond Chandler's Los Angeles, for example, and Ian Rankin's books are very, very much Edinburgh. So I just wanted to kind of get your views really on and how you see location fitting into crime fiction when you're writing, when you're reading, and how important you think that is, because Val McDermid's written an entire book about it now.
Yeah, it's an interesting you should bring that up, because there was something on Twitter over the last few days as well where someone mentioned in some writing tips, you should only write what you know and where you know. And a lot of people disagreed with that, myself included, because obviously with the Kay Hunter series, that's based in Maidstone, it's real places. But I started writing that on a little bit of knowledge for the 2 years that I lived there prior to moving out to Australia. But being out in Australia, a lot of my research had to be done without actually visiting places in person. It was desktop-based research. Okay, Google Earth, newspaper clippings, talking to people that lived in the area. I think if you do get the chance to go somewhere to really evoke a sense of setting, that's great. I don't think it's always necessary. But by the same token, there are a lot of, and I'm just trying to think of one off the top of my head, but I wonder sometimes if you get locked into a setting. Sometimes a story, you might not want to say exactly where it's based, but just pull on like a rough description of a location for a story, rather than say, yep, that's in Reading in Berkshire, or that's in Swindon in Wiltshire. You might say, actually, this is a made-up town for the purposes of this particular story. Well,
I mean, that's what I always tend to do with all of my books. I always set them in locations which are based on real places that I know, real places that I've lived, but I can play fast and loose with it. So if I need to move something a mile or two out or change the length of a road, I can do, and no one's going to pull me up on it. But at the same time, for me, it's a kind of a grounding that I can use to basically visualize things much more easily and create those worlds, because most of them are already created. But again, I change the names of places, and I play fast and loose with it when I need to. So yeah, I mean, for me, I guess a lot of people say that the towns and the areas that I've created are quite evocative, and you can imagine them quite easily, which is weird considering I've made them up.
Yeah, but it's like you say, you're drawing on that experience, whereas the problem I have with that particular series of mine is that if I get something wrong, I'm going to get emails from people saying, you can't go that way, it's a one-way street, or that's not the way the ring road works. On the plus side with that, though, of course, I can do the Kay Hunter walking pub crawl come the summer.
Yeah.
So, and I guess, it's like with Ian Rankin's Rebus series, a lot of people go to the Oxford Bar in Edinburgh because they know it's so well from the books.
Yeah, I mean, I have done some of the, places the real places behind the areas in the books and things like that. I did one, I think there's a video on YouTube somewhere that was done a few years back, very, probably not a great thing to watch. My
I'm going to go looking
style.
For that now.
But that was I did a walk around of town that I grew up in, and that had
fantastic.
Lots of the places that had inspired the first book. I think it was when my first book, Too Close for Comfort, was 5 years old. I think it was celebrating that. So that would have been about 4 years ago I did the video. But that's just something I wanted to touch on really, because I've been reading quite a few things in the news this week. About crime fiction, as I tend to try and do, just basically to get some material for the show. And I was on bustle.com, who we love a lot at the moment because they named Partners in Crime as one of their top podcasts of 2018.
Oh, fantastic.
So
well done.
Big up to them. They were speaking to CJ Tudor and Fiona Barton about various things in their books, about plot twists and their writing style. And something else I wanted to bring up with you specifically, one question that was put to them was about the differences in writing male and female protagonists. Now, I've written quite a few books with female protagonists, and some of them in first person as well. So literally writing as a woman. And a lot of people said to me that I can do that quite realistically, which is bizarre, but good. And I know that for you've written quite a few books with male protagonists as well. So did you find it difficult to kind of cross those lines, or are the differences between the ways men and women think and act and not actually as different as people make out?
I didn't find it difficult. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I didn't find it difficult writing them because I'm quite lucky in that often my characters come to me fully formed along with the opening of a story. And that's what happened both with the Kate Hunter ones and with my Dan Taylor spy novels. But what I did do once I had the rough draft of each of the Dan Taylor ones, is give it to my other half so he could read it.
Yeah.
And that was a great exercise because, and I had another couple of blokes as beta readers for those, simply because of mannerisms. And I had one scene, I think it was in the second book, where Dan Taylor punches someone in the jaw. And my other half said to me, no, that's ridiculous because you'd hurt your hand and he's got to do this next. Just punch him in the stomach, it's soft. And it's things like that from a male perspective that I would never have thought of otherwise. So I think if you're going to write in a different perspective, it's good to get just a bit of a check through your beta reader process.
Make sure you're doing it properly.
Yeah. But as it comes, the actual writing, no, never a problem. It's just like you said. It's if that's what the story is, that's the story you have to tell.
And should point out at this moment in time, your Dan Taylor books, by the way, are excellent, as are your Kay Hunter ones.
Thank you.
And if any readers want to get hold of those or any other crime books, if you're a new reader to Kobo, if you've not bought books from Kobo before, you can head over to kobo.com, find any book that takes your fancy, and if you enter the promo code CRIME at the checkout, then as a regular listener to Partners in Crime, you are entitled to a 90% discount off your first purchase. You don't need a special e-reader or any device at all either. You can download the free app for your phone or tablet and read on that. I was having a look at some of the things that are coming up on TV as well in the next few weeks and months, and I went down.
What have you got your eye on?
Well, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole on the Radio Times website. And,
that's easy to do.
Yeah, and I came out against this article, which caught my eye, not really connected with crime, but made me chuckle a little bit because it's about Poldark, which has been a massive success on the BBC and further abroad as well. The 5th series airs this summer and is meant to be the last one, but
they just finished wrapping it up last week in the snow.
Did they?
Yeah.
Wow. And the producers have said, and the writer, Debbie Horsfield, and the producer, Karen Thrussell, they've said they're open to one day adapting the later books in the saga, where Ross Poldark would return in his 40s. which I found interesting. I'm not a major Poldark fan, but one thing that did make me chuckle is that Bob has popped up in a couple of series of Poldark as Dr. Choke. If Ross Poldark comes back in his 40s, what on earth's Bob going to look like?
Makeup.
Yeah. I can imagine him hobbling on with a stick and a Zimmer frame.
See, this is what happens when he skies off and goes to Bermuda instead.
Oh yeah,
we can do
free
this.
for all now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Don't tell him. It's okay. He won't know this.
Oh, he'll be listening on a beach in Bermuda somewhere. He's not going to care, is he? He's got a wonderful gig out there talking about his life, writing and acting, and sunning it up on a cruise ship. So
and here we are talking about camping in fields to keep away from the hunted.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
We've got this wrong.
I'm sitting here watching the snow melt on my front garden at the moment, so it's
Have you still got some? All of ours is gone.
It's been raining, so it's pretty much all gone now. But yeah, some of it where it had been piled up to make, snowman, the obligatory.
I'm still putting a brave face on it because I've had 2 people ask me in the past week, so do you miss Australia yet? And I'm like, through gritted teeth, no.
They've got a massive heat wave over there.
That's just summer.
Oh, yeah,
that's called summer.
all right. It's worse than normal though, isn't it? It's in like the high 40s, I think, in some places. It's
no, the last 3 have been pretty rough.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's but thank God they've had water out west. I mean, poor Townsville, underwater. They've got serious problems there, but it's just because the ground is so packed in and so dry. But further out west, where the farmers need it, they've got the rivers are flowing again.
Really?
But that heat wave, that's just summer.
I thought you might say that. You see, you spent too long in Australia. You do that.
Yeah. I didn't go out for 4 days last week with the snow.
Oh. Well, one thing I have been doing while I've been sitting here in my very cold office is, as I said, looking up things that come up on TV soon. And Channel 4 have got a very interesting series which is starting this month, actually. It's called Traitors, and some of the first images and first details of that have started to come out. Have you seen this?
Rings a bell. No, I think I saw a trailer for it over the weekend. Yeah,
well, it's got Keely Hawes in it, which of course it has because she's in everything. And I've got this theory that there must be about 6 Keely Hawes.
But if she's in it, it's going to be good.
Oh, absolutely.
She does pick she always picks a good script.
Yes, she does. It's the same as Olivia Colman. She seems to pop up in pretty much everything. But both fantastic. So absolute delight to see them in anything. It says here on the Radio Times website, Traitors is the story of the oddly named Fief Simmons, who is a bold young woman who joins the civil service in 1945, just as Clement Attlee's Labour Party swept to victory, defeating wartime leader Winston Churchill in a surprise landslide. Ambitious and determined to make something of her life, Fief is unappreciated by her family, but her American lover is a different matter. She agrees to spy on her own government on behalf of the Americans who have a hidden agenda. They want to assure that England's socialist leaders don't play into Soviet hands. Struggling to work out what she stands for and what she's capable of, Fief must learn to think for herself and play by her own rules at a time when knowledge becomes power and nothing and no one is what they seem, Channel 4 teases in the official synopsis.
Oh, that does sound good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It's written by Boardwalk Empire writer and award-winning playwright Bash Doran in her first original commission for British TV.
Fantastic. And when does that start?
This month. I can't find an exact date. The closest I found was an article at the end of January which said next month. So, we've got Keely Hawes in there.
Look out for that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, she was, of course, in Bodyguard recently, Keely Hawes, and she did...
Line of Duty.
Line of Duty, Life on Mars. So she knows a good thriller. She'll pick up a good thriller. So,
high hopes for that then.
Yes, and Emma Appleton as well is in it, and various other people, very talented cast. So very much looking forward to seeing that. That should be on later this month. Also, not only does that air on Channel 4 in UK and Ireland, but it will be on Netflix as well globally outside of the UK and Ireland, except for China. So.
Oh, that's good, because I always used to find in Australia, I'd hear all you guys talking about all these great programs, and we wouldn't see some of them, and it was only if they went on Netflix we could keep up.
Yeah, well, that's what we try and do, because we've got listeners all over the world as well. I think we're only about half our listeners are actually in the UK. So yeah, if we can find out that a show is going to be airing worldwide, we will certainly mention it.
Great stuff.
Well, that's about it for me. I've been doing a little bit of, as I say, looking at what's coming up on TV, what's coming up on the books side of things. But in terms of actually reading anything, I've not had a whole lot of time this week, I must admit. It's as I mentioned.
You've been busy on your own stuff?
Well, I have, yeah. As I mentioned last week, I was ill the week before, so it's just kind of knocked me back in terms of, sometimes I struggle to keep my head above water anyway. having a week off means that you come back to hundreds of emails and a to-do list that's kind of falling off my desk. So I've been really, really busy catching up with all that, and that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
Sticking to it.
I am indeed.
Sounds like a plan.
Yes, but you very kindly juggled your schedule around today, and you mentioned that you had a deadline for a new book that you were writing. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it's a standalone, because I've written a standalone for a while, and after writing 3K Hunters and publishing them one after the other, I just need a bit of a break, and this story popped into my head when I was sat at the desk back in September.
It's great when that happens, isn't it?
I love it, and it's one of those ideas. You know what I mean by this. It would not let me go, so I had to make room in the production schedule for this year for this book, and I got stuck over Christmas. Sometimes the words, they just don't flow, and I didn't know where. Didn't need fixing, just couldn't get into it, and then I had a breakthrough in the new year and introduced a new point of view character, and whoosh, it's I should be finishing it today after we finish recording this.
Wow, you're actually going back to work after this?
I'm hooked. Yeah, I love my job.
Podcasts wear me out too much. I've been working on my new Kempston Hardwick book still, book 5.
Good.
It's it's a bit of a slow one. As I say, life gets in the way sometimes, but when it's rolling,
you can only do what you can do.
Absolutely, yeah. But when it's rolling, it's really rolling, because the characters are lots of fun. It's a far more traditional kind of comedic style of murder mystery.
They're fun books. I always remember when I first read, I think it was when we first met on social media a few years ago, and I got the box set of the first few in the series, and you're right, they just are great entertaining stories.
Yeah,
so I'm glad you're still writing those ones.
Yeah, well, it's been a while. I think it was 2015. I think the last one in that series came out, so it will be nearly 4 years by the time it comes out. It's nice to be back with Kempston and Ellis.
Do you find as well it's easier returning to familiar characters than building a whole new world from scratch, isn't it?
It is, yeah. In many ways it is. I think that the pressures are different. I think when you're writing an existing world, an existing series, you're kind of limited a little bit. And there are certain things you've got to follow up on in terms of personal lives and what have you, and the world that you've built. So you have more freedom, I think, with a standalone or with a new series that's not linked to anything else. But yeah, there is something quite appealing about the fact that when you're writing in a series, half the book is already written for you, essentially, because
that's right.
You know where the overall arc is going, and you've only really got half of it left to do in terms of that individual plot. So yeah, I tend to flip between the two. I find they're kind of palate cleansers for each other, because otherwise I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I just find
that's
it so
it.
repetitive.
It keeps your brain ticking over. It keeps it all fresh, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So
when might we expect that one out then?
Oh, couldn't possibly say. I'll let you know in a week or two when I know how things are going.
Right.
But it probably where are we now? I don't know, maybe sort of Easter time.
Oh, that'd be good. Good timing.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. But we'll see how that goes anyway.
Won't hold you to it, just in case.
Well, I'm hoping to do a book launch in a local pub of mine, actually, where I've done some book launches there before for this series, because again, the series is based on a fictionalised version of The Next Town Along From Me, and the pub features very heavily in masked form in the series as well, and in fact the book opens in the pub as well, and it's to do with, funnily enough, an author having a book launch in that pub.
In a pub.
And doing a reading from their new book. So it'll be a little bit meta if I can go and do a book launch there and read from it.
And I would think that if you tell anybody book launch plus pub, you're going to have a good book launch.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. That's the whole point. It was quite good, actually. We did one a few years back there, and the local brewery who own the pub brewed a Kempston Hardwick bitter, and that was put on, and yeah, it was great. I think I had most of that, but
I may have to come up for that.
You should.
That sounds like good fun.
You should. I shall mention it. Yeah, certainly. Parking's dreadful, but with Kempston Hardwick bitter on the tap, you won't need a car. So don't worry about that.
That's right. I can walk.
I will keep you posted and let you know about that.
Good.
But yeah, don't tell anyone, will you? Don't tell anyone.
Okay.
Else.
It's okay. No, secret's safe with me. You're all right.
Well, hopefully Bob will be back with us next week. He assures us he will. So yeah, presumably he's not swimming back from Bermuda, and he'll be here in time.
Well, if he leaves about now, he should be all right.
Well, he's only been faffing about on a cruise ship, so he should have been watching plenty of Netflix and reading lots of books and telling us all about what's good to read and watch at the moment. So I'm going to do absolutely no planning for the next episode.
I was going to say, you can take the rest of February off then.
Yeah, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let him take over and tell us what we should be reading and watching.
That sounds good. I shall tune in for that.
Good. Well, thank you very much for joining us again, Rachel. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. And next time he decides that he's forgotten he's got to go out to Somalia or wherever, we'll get you back on.
Sounds good to me.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft
not the other one.
And produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Bache. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.